Okay, so guys, lady and gentlemen, we are ready to start our session. And today's week 10. So I'm gonna create here a folder called Tuesday. Hope you've already prepared yours. Then I'll create an index folder in this. Yeah, and I'll put a boilerplate. Nice. So I'll say master arrays in PHP. Okay, or master PHP arrays. Once this is done, we can now get started with our things. And how we are going to do this is, last time we looked at the array and we looped the array. We even sorted the array, but there's something that we did not check. That thing that we did not check was how to add items to the array. You know, how do we add an item to the array? So what you would say here, master PHP arrays. Okay, now what this is gonna do, what we're gonna do here is to say how to add elements to the array. You know, that's it. So how do we do that? The way we do that is simple. If we have an array, like an array of cities, and in the cities we have Masaka, Kampala, Mbarara, you know. So we have like 3 cities. How shall we how shall we do whatever? How can we add something like how can we call it? How can we add something like Arua, you know? So what we are going to do, we are going to print out this array to dump it. So I'll create something here, and I'll say h2, the current items in the array are, do something like that, then h2, and then I will write the pre tag and the PHP tag, then var dump, and I'll write cities to see what's the current. Oh, so this is what I'm gonna do now. We can go to the browser and check the current items in the array. So we shall go to the browser here, and we put PHP mentorship week 10 Tuesday. So these are the current items in the array. You can see that we have on 0, we have Masaka. On string, on what? On 1, we have Kampala. And on 2, we have Mbarara. So we can add items to this array by doing what? By saying cities is equal to, so cities square bracket is equal to Arua. Okay. If we do this, now once we come to outputting the cities should have all of them. And we are going to test it. So if I refresh, you can see that the cities are now 4. We have string 3, we have index 3, which has Arua. But now the challenge is on what if we wanted to add at a particular index? Like what if we wanted to add on where before Kampala, what if we wanted to have Masaka, then which other city do we have in Uganda?
Is Mbarara a city?
Jinja.
Jinja. I don't know if Mbarara is a city. I assumed. So we shall go with, I'll bring Jinja. Cities. Yes. Then I'll copy this code, paste it here. Oh, it's pasting empty things. Right. So we could say that we are going to add something on index 1, and we call it Ginger. Okay. But let's see what this is gonna do. Let's see what this is gonna do. So we refresh. So what has this one done? This one has replaced Kampala with Ginger. So because some people would think that adding to a certain position would need you to specify the index upon which you want to add. But if that index has existing, if there's something in the position of that index, then that something will be replaced. But if you want to say that I want to add, let me say at the beginning of the array, what would we do, without replacing? Because of course, when you add in any programming language, when you add it to an existing position, a new position won't be introduced, but the current position, the current element in that position will be replaced. So how can we add elements at the beginning of the array? But have you gotten what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. So,
adding to the beginning of the array without specifying the index.
Probably without specifying the index, probably. What if you were to specify the index?
I think if we were to specify the index, would use 0.
Okay. And can we test it out?
Yes, let's try it out.
Okay. So if we put ginger at 0, let's see what would happen. So if we put ginger at 0, it replaces Masaka. So instead of adding, okay?
Oh.
But in PHP, PHP is not like most programming languages. So in PHP, what we would do, instead, we can use an inbuilt function called array merge, okay? So if we say, for example, we can create an array which contains the what? Can do something like new city equals to an array of ginger, okay? And then we can use an array merge to get the cities. So we can say cities, new cities equals to, now here, to array merge, this is a function, one of the inbuilt function. Now we should put new city at the beginning, and then we bring cities. Then here we would do new cities, save. And do you see that? Ginger, Masaka, Kamparambarala, Arua. You see that? That's what would happen if we use array merge. The other is to use the unshift, okay? Array unshift. So the array unshift function is used to add one or more elements at the beginning of the array, okay? So let's see how it works, and it will really help us. So we can say here that, yes, someone wants to say something. Okay, by the way, guys, let me, oh, those are, okay, I thought that there was someone in the waiting room, but looks like no, so it's okay. I will just continue. So we can have an element here called new city. Please don't confuse this new city with this new city here. Someone, you have background sound on, and it comes. So which other city do we have in Uganda? I don't know why I don't know the cities we have.
Gulu.
Hmm?
Gulu.
How,
Arua.
how comes you know them? Arua is here.
Gulu.
Thank you. So we can now use the hey, yeah, Mbali is indeed a city. In fact, I should remove Mbarara from here and put Mbali. Then, so Gulu, now we can say that array unshift, not unique, unshift, and then I will put the array cities, then a comma, the new city that I want to add, and it will be added at the beginning of the array. So What I'm gonna do now is simple. I'm gonna output them. Mhm. So how do I output? I have to write PHP here, and then vdump new city. Then save. Hi, new city. No, new city. So I think I have to vdump cities. Or wait a moment, I might be messing up. Just a moment. Yeah, I think I'm correct. Let's go to the code and we see, yes, cities. So this is how it should work now. It modifies the existing array. So let's see now, refresh and find this, sites instead of cities. That's a wrong spelling here. Yeah, so you can see that we have Gulu, Masaka, Kampala, Mbale, and Arua. Has anything moved away? How did we start with this? Yeah, we started with Masaka, Kampala, and Mbarara, Mbale. Then we added Arua to the cities. Then when we came, we added Guru to the cities. So we have Guru, and the Guru is the first because we've the first element because we've used array and shift. Does that make sense, guys?
Mm.
But then
Mm.
it replaces. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mm.
it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. How
Yeah.
do you know that it makes sense?
Um, I thought we were supposed to. Okay, it wasn't supposed to replace the like the first element.
What was the first element
The
that it
first
has
element
replaced?
was ginger.
Um, let's go and see. No, it wasn't. This is the cities, okay? This one here, on line 13.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, then when you go to it, output it here. Then when you add Arua to the
Oh,
cities,
so
it now,
sorry, I had confused it with something else. Like,
you had confused it with this one.
yes,
Remember when we merged, the merge was kept in this
yeah, in new
variable.
cities. Yes,
Yes. Now what we are working with is cities. So if we put here new cities, we would also have to put here new cities.
yeah,
Then probably your thing would have to what you were trying to explain would be manifested. And indeed, it has not replaced ginger. Ginger is
yes,
here, Masaka is there, Kampala, Mbale, and Arua, and the Guru that we've added. You see that?
yes,
So that's
yes.
how, yeah, that's simple. That's how simply this works. The array unshift and the array merge. Now, what if we wanted to add uh like if we wanted to add something in between, something in between the arrays. Like just imagine we have an array of 4 elements, and in between those 4 elements, we want to add a 5th one. but in the middle. So the third, for them to be 5, but when the third is in the middle of those 4. Do you get? Hmm?
Yes.
uh, you you sound afraid.
I get. I'm just thinking about a solution.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that's great. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So, as you think about it, there's something called a splice. So, let's say here adding, I want to see adding, these are the cities after adding ginger, at the beginning. Of the array. Now this one, for this one, we say these are the cities after adding guru. So there is something called the array splice. So I will put here an heading and say adding. No, it can be inserting, right? Inserting elements to the middle of the array. Won't this make sense? Yeah, I think it will. So we can use the array splice, and the way it would work is simple. We would have to splice the original array, and the splice takes the array that you are splicing, the position at which you are splicing that array, how many elements are you inserting, and then you put those, you specify the variable for those. So the way it would be is array splice, yeah, like that. So they are showing you input, offset, length, okay, and the length and what, and the input. So what we would do is to say the array with which we are adding, which is cities. So we know that cities has 4 elements, right? Because cities has, does it have 4 or 3? Let's see. It has 3. It has Masaka, Kampala, and Mbale. And Arua. So now it has 4 elements. Now what we would do, we want to splice the cities at the second position, at the third element, because you know elements in an array start from 0, then 1, then 2. So the third would be at 2, and we are going to add there 1 element, and that element we are going to call it Sharon, who knows the cities in Uganda, help us. Hmm? You don't remember? Over they are over.
I don't know if Soroti is a city.
Sorority, because it's your place.
It's not my place.
Which is your place? Let me see. Okay, let me search over here. Cities in Kampala. Ah, here me. Cities in Kampala, cities in Uganda. Gulu, Jinja, Masaka, Mbale, Hoima, Mbarara. Mbarara is among them. So I'll add Hoima. I don't know if these are the official cities, but they could be towns anyway. So we'll do that, and then we can dump what? The cities to see if this thing has been added. Okay. We go to the browser for moment of truth. And what do we have? Do you see that? Do you see Hoima in the middle? So that's how this price works. And you never fail to do something because you've failed. You can also do it differently, utilizing the loop. Okay, like we are going to see how, but this is an inbuilt PHP function that would add this thing. Okay, but you can also add an array to this by, for example, putting it in the whatever, and then you can specify in the square brackets, and you can specify things like that. Save and check. Am I right on this? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm sure. So that's how it is. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Hmm.
What 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 is the zero doing there?
The zero is for the length of how many elements you want to add. So if I had like, if I had like, let me say the, how can I explain it? If I had like two strings or two elements that I want to add, when those elements are not in square brackets like this, okay, I would have to use the number, the how do they call it? Because this one here is known as the offset, but the other one, let me see how they explain it. Let me see how it's explained. Just a moment. So the length is optional. And what it does is that it says that the splice is actually not for inserting. The splice is for replacing elements in an array. And what it does is in the first position you put the array which you want, whose elements you want to replace. Then you specify the position you want to start from. Then you specify how many elements do you want to replace. So if you say 0, they will just insert your items there. They will insert the items after the third position, and or the second index, and they will not touch anything. But if you specify like 1, let's specify like 1, and you see, we expect that if we have Masaka at 0, Kampala at 1, Mbale at 2, we expect that Mbale might be removed from this array. So let's see that, all right? and that's it. You see that Hoima and Entebbe have replaced Mbale. So there's that 0 that we put is to specify how many elements in the array you want to replace. So if I don't want to replace any elements, I say 0. And this is the starting position. You can even specify it in negatives. You can specify it in positives. So if I say negative, that means -1, -2, -1, and 0. Let's see what this one will do. Do you see that it has stayed in the middle? So I don't really know what the negative would do, but it can be used. We can test maybe on larger arrays and we shall be able to understand it. But they say the number 2 is for the start. So required numeric value specifies where the function will start removing elements. 0 is the first element. If the value is set to a negative number, the function will start that far from the last element. It will start that far from the last element. So the last element is Arua. Now, if we say, for example, -1, this is really nice. If we say -1, you are going to see what it's going to do. Do you see that? Do you see that Mbale is in the middle? Then -1, because they said from the last element, so it has moved -1 from Arua, and instead of replacing anything, because we said 0, to replace 0 item, it just inserted on the 3rd and 4th position or index. Okay. Any question? Any other question? Have I answered you, Sharon?
Somehow.
Where somehow, okay, tell me what you understood or not.
Let's go back to the code. Okay.
Okay.
You said that 0 means that you don't want to replace any item.
Yes, because that the third argument means that how many items do you want to replace? Do you want this element that you are adding to replace? So if you say, if your array has like 5 elements and you say 3, this single element you are adding will replace those 3 elements. Let's test it out practically. I think that's how we shall understand it. First, we can have something like, this time let's work with something we know. That's the countries, which is equal to Uganda. Of course, it comes first. Kenya, our beloved neighbor. South Sudan. And yeah, we say those two, okay? Let me add another country. Assuming we've added a country which is not neighboring Uganda. So for example, Nigeria, okay? It's in Africa, but not a neighbor. So we may use like, we may want to replace it with, let's say East Africa countries, okay? So we make a mistake and add Nigeria to those. So we want to replace this Nigeria with another country like let's first do this. Let's first do this. The countries are, I think I just put a paragraph, say the countries are. So this time around, see what I'm gonna do to display the countries. I'll put a colon there. Then I close the paragraph from here. Then I'll write the code to display the countries. And this time I'm gonna use something called a PHP function called implode. This joins the array into strings, into a string. So gonna say that, and the separator, I'll specify a comma. Okay, so this one, I expect it to, and I'll echo it out. So where is the mistake now? Because I see, okay, let me just save. Yeah, so let's check if this code works, and then we start the replacement. Implode uncode type error must be of type array. Oh, so I think wait, there is explode and there is implode. So I think I need to put the comma first, the separator first, then I guess I have to do something like this. Let's see now. Yeah, so implode in PHP is the JavaScript version of join. Okay, and you see we've joined these countries, separating them with the commas, but of course we need a space after the comma. So this comma, which is in the strings, I'll add a space to it. And what I'm gonna do now is we are going to replace Nigeria. Okay, so I'll say replace Nigeria with Tanzania. Okay, Tanzania. So how shall we do that based on the array shift? What we shall do is simple. We shall write the array shift, array splice, sorry, and then we shall specify our array, which is East Africa countries. And after specifying it, we shall specify which position to start from. And if we count, this is 0, Uganda is at 0, Kenya to 1, and Kenya at 1, South Sudan at 2, Nigeria at 3. So this gentleman, Stephen, has just, can someone help me type in the chat? And if you can give him the link, please, sir, then I'll allow him from this side. So here we are gonna say array price, and we are starting from the last position, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we are doing that, and we have to specify the number of elements we want to replace. That's when we don't use a 0, and we want to specify the value we want to put, which value is Tanzania. Tanzania. Now we can join our array again by echo implode and do comma, then another comma, because this takes 2 parameters or arguments, and then we can do East Africa countries, and then this. So let's see whether this one is gonna work. You see that this has replaced Tanzania. This has replaced Nigeria with Tanzania. Good. Now let us see if the countries, because there's something I was telling you that this thing specifies the number of elements in the array that you have to replace. So let's assume there was another country here, probably Egypt, you know. So if we specify 1, we are going to find that we replace only Nigeria and Egypt will remain. But if we set 2, what will happen is that Tanzania will replace 2 countries. And if we set 0, no country will be replaced. Tanzania will be added to the 3rd index, and the rest will come after it. I think we've tested enough. Are we clear, John? Sharon? Sorry. Okay, that's great.
Yes.
Okay, so could you break down for me what we've just done?
Okay. We
Mm,
created an array of
mm,
countries.
mm,
So
mm,
the array has 3 countries that
mm,
are
mm,
in the East African region and
mm,
2 countries that are not in the East African region.
mm,
So we want to remove those to replace those countries
mm,
that are not in the Eastern African region
mm,
with the countries in the East African region.
mm,
So we use the inbuilt function
mm, mm,
array splice.
mm,
And the first parameter is the name of the array.
mm,
Then the second parameter
mm.
is the position.
Mhm. Is the start
Is the
position? Is where you want to
yes,
start from? Yeah.
the position where I want to start
Mm.
splicing from.
Mhm.
Then the third parameter
Mm.
is it determines
Mm.
whether you want to replace the items
Mm.
after that particular position that you've selected,
Mm.
or you just want to add that item
Mm.
after that position that you selected. So if we use 0, it
Mm.
means the new item is going to be added.
Mm.
Tanzania,
To be
the fourth
inserted.
parameter
Mm.
is
Mm.
the item that you want to insert.
Mm.
So we wanted to insert Tanzania. So
Mm.
Tanzania takes up the fourth parameter.
Mm.
So 0 means that insert Tanzania,
Mm.
but maintain the whatever was in the array.
Mm.
but insert Tanzania after the item at index 3.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, that's it. And so this putting a 0 here means that we shall not meet this condition that but Nigeria is not part of the East African countries. So replace Nigeria with Tanzania. That won't work. You get? So this will just add. If we want it to work, we would have to specify how many elements we want to replace, and would say 1, then Tanzania will be able to replace Nigeria. And if we want to replace Nigeria and Egypt, we would set 2, so that because we said this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, so that once we reach at 3, we replace the element at 3 and the 2 elements from 3. So that means that if there are 2 elements from 3, those 2 elements will be Nigeria and Egypt. I guess that clarifies everything. Does it? So thank you very much. Now that's what we have. Now the other thing I was telling you is that you can still utilize loops to do this. That's why loops are important. You can utilize loops to replace or to add the elements in between the array, though the loop will be overkill. It will be like a lot of code, but it can still work. For example, we can say, if we wanted to, okay, this time around, let's use Europe countries, okay? Europe countries. And we put them in an array. And this array, we say there's Spain, there is France, there is England, there is Italy. But what if we add on a country like let's say what? Like let's say China, which is in Asia. And then we add a country like Switzerland, which is in Europe. Switzerland. Okay. And first of all, we want to try to add the elements to this array. Okay. We want to add the elements to this array. So we can say, if we want to add, like, let me say from Italy here, okay, from Italy, and we add something that is, let me see. And we add something like Belgium, Netherlands, or something like that. How could we do this? How could we do this? I believe we can do it with a for loop, whereby we can say for I equals 0, I less than what? I less than probably I'm trying to think, sorry. I less than probably, if we count this one, we get 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we say that I less than 4, can it really take us where we want? We say I plus plus. But if we do that, if we do less than 4, it might not help. But we can say like the full count, the full size of the array. So this time, instead of using count, we are using size of, but you can feel free to use count of Europe countries. Then we can say I plus plus. Then here we can say Europe countries. No, we can say if the I is less than is equal to 4, then start doing what? Then start adding to the, you start adding to that I. Start adding to the I by, you start adding to the array. So you say Europe countries I plus I plus plus equals to, if we want to put Belgium there, okay, Belgium there, okay, then that means on position 5 they have added something there, but then that position is the same position with China, so we are most likely to have replaced China. But what we can do, we can retain China by saying that how can we retain it? If I equals to 4, that means we are going to say give us the country at country at country at position 4, country at 4 equals to copy paste. Oh no, I want to copy this and then paste here. So give us a country at I plus plus, but then we can also just say, give us a country at 4. So we store that country somewhere, and then we add Belgium, okay? Then we add Belgium at 4. We don't even need I plus plus. Then we, after adding Belgium at 4, we come to, what do we do? Then I think we can continue. The loop will continue and do what? We'll now check that I is 5. When I is 5, we can now bring back the country, okay? By saying that, let's get the country. We first get the country at 5, which is Switzerland. By the way, this thing that we are doing, Sharon and David, not Stephen, because Stephen has not yet reached the algorithm level. This that we are doing is so paramount when it comes to algorithm and data structure interview tests. So here we can say country at 5 equals to what? Equals to, because you know that this is at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's that 5. So country at 5 equals Europe. So I think I'm even making a mistake somewhere, but let's see. If this is, did we say this is at 4? Yeah, this is at 4. So this is at 5. So we get this country, store it in a variable because we don't want to lose it. And then after doing that, we say that, what do we say? Because we've replaced China with Belgium, but we want China to come back again. So what we are going to do after storing the country at 5, that position of 5, we replace it with a country. If we do this, we are going to find a challenge, because this loop, whenever it's running, it's going to continue running and running and running. So I think all of this code must be done at this level. We can't put it out, so we shall say country at 5, then we shall come here, paste our position of countries 5, copy and paste. And now at this position, we want this country, which was at 4. Okay, which was at what? At 4. And now we copy it and assign it to this position 5. After assigning it to position 5, remember we have a country which is what? At position 5, which is Switzerland that we want. So what we are going to do is to say, now Europe countries without specifying the index is that. So after all of that, what is gonna be done? What is gonna be done? Now, after all of this, we want the loop to stop running. Okay, we want the loop to stop running, so that we have our countries arranged. So to stop the loop from running, I think we say break the loop. Now, after breaking the loop, we come over here and rejoin our countries to see what do we have. Europe countries. Okay, let's test and see. Do you see that? So wait a moment, guys. I need to put a paragraph on this so that we Europe countries. Yeah, let me just do this. Then I can put a paragraph over here for all of this code to be in the paragraph, so that things can be well formatted. So we can refresh over here, and Europe countries are now Spain, France, England, Italy, Belgium. You remember that originally they were, let's say here, I'm gonna break the PHP from here and say, and put what? Paragraph here. First close the paragraph and open a new paragraph. Put currently. Then you can say that, and then you can, here we are going to put the Europe countries here. We are going to say paragraph started with, so we shall put a PHP here and we shall echo, we can use this, and we say implode, then comma and that, and then Europe countries. So we want to see the countries we started with and the countries we are ending with, or we have currently. Okay, so that we can also be able to remove what we want to remove, because it's important to know how those functions of the inbuilt functions work. So we started with Spain, France, Italy, China, Switzerland. Then we added Belgium. You get, whereby we added Belgium. We could write something here and we say that we added, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we added Belgium to the fifth. Let's say here, let's write, put here, add Belgium as the fifth country. Yeah. So I think this makes some sense. Yeah, now we have the following countries. So, and we've done that using the for loop. And what we did when we are using the for loop, we utilized the if statement, and we utilized our own head. You get, we utilized the, like, the for loop, the if, and we used our own thinking to work on this. Okay. And what is gonna happen is that we've said that to do this, we've said that let's loop the countries, all of them. But once we reach to the fourth country, which is the fifth, but because arrays start counting from 0, okay? Yeah, because the array starts counting from 0. So here we have 4, okay? And then we say that if the I, because this will be looping, will be adding to the I, once we reach to the fourth element, we are going to pick the country at the fourth. Even here where we have 4, we can put the I because we know that the I has 4. We can still put the I to be more accurate, okay? Because when you put the I, if someone says replace, they replace the what? If a person says replace the 50th item, you just replace here. You just come to the if and put like 5 or 3 or whatever, and you maintain the I. Now on this 5 here, you just say I plus plus. You say that, and still this thing will work. Then here we've put nothing, because if we put nothing, this adds, the element they add ends up to be added to the as the last element. Okay, let's test and see if this has if this works. Oh, here I put an equals instead of a plus. All right, let's see if this works the same way, and I expect it to do so. Oh, so this one has instead added Belgium twice, replaced. So let me see where the mistake is. Where the mistake is here, we have said the country 5 is at countries where I plus plus. And then I is equal to Belgium. And then the countries I equals this. So this plus plus is the one which is giving issues. This one over here. If I may think. So probably the best alternative here might not be the increment. Let me try to just say +1 and see, because some arithmetic operations happen in their own way. So this one brings Switzerland. So oh, I get it. I get it. I get it. This was, let me see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we say that the country at 5 is Switzerland, then when they come to 5, they have Switzerland. But then to 5, they have Switzerland is one they put here. And here we are putting plus plus country 4. So Belgium has not been added. And why has Belgium not been added? When we said that at this I, we put Belgium. So let me first take it back. I'm becoming rusty. Yeah. So if I put 4 here, where was 5? Here. Are we off?
No, we are on.
Let's see. Yeah, this one works when I put 5. When I put 5 here and 5 here, 4 here and 4 here. But when I put, let me start by putting I there and see. Then I'll be able to explain why it's not working. So when I put I there, it still works. Now, when I put I here, I think it's also gonna work. Then I guess I know why it has not worked the other time. If I put I here and the I here, it looks like it's gonna work. Let me see. Yeah, it's working. Now, the issue is that if I put I plus plus here, by the time we reach here, the I has changed. If we put the I plus plus again here, the I has already changed. So I need to be sure about that, because let me see this one, what it does. So this has brought Belgium, and because of that I plus plus, you get this I plus plus, which is getting the current I, which is 4, and it's adding to it when what is someone has used +1. Okay, I use +1. Let's see. Okay, I'll do that, David, like you said. Yeah, +1 works. Now, and guess what? After putting +1, and if I want to replace this one here, what will happen if I want to replace it with a variable? I think also let me first put I. Okay. +1. I want to see. All right, we now have it back to, so the reason I plus plus wasn't working, the reason this wasn't working, this one, is that it does this. It is evaluated to I equals I plus 1. Okay. So if the I had the 4 and we say I equals I plus 1, that means the I becomes 5. Okay, the I becomes 5 here. But the problem what happens is that by the time the I reaches here, now it is a totally different value and things will malfunction. Okay, and the I plus I here in the array as an index might also, the operation might also happen later. I'm not really sure. So that's why it's better we don't use it. But this one here where you've put I is better than the one where we had specified the 4, the 5, because anytime this value over here might change. You will see it when we start building functions. And the moment this value over here changes, you need to make sure that the value that you have here is what you have here. Okay, so we were supposed to look at multidimensional arrays today, but I think we've run out of time. Yeah, we've run out of time. I would like to stop there, but I would like you to really pay much attention to the code we've done here, just for you to acquaint yourself with loops, arrays, and how you can use loops and if statements together, because some people think that one is better than the other. When should I use this? When should I use the other? But I can tell you none is better than the other. Where they come best, where depending on your use case. Like in this use case, we needed to use both. You get, and there are even use cases where we use 2 for loops. There are use cases where we use 4 loops, nested in each other. That's where programming, some people find programming hard because they never bothered to understand these fundamentals. You need to really not to be afraid of them, and you just need to use your brain and think that what am I trying to do? That's why sometimes you hear me asking you to explain, to that you hear me telling you, so if you've understood, what have we done there? I'm doing that so that you can understand these things. I'm not doing it to just know that you've understood, but I want you to understand and own it, and feel like, yeah, if I can explain it, I've understood it. You can also give yourself challenges and use such things, such scenarios, Yes. So now let's do one other thing. Like, we know that China is not part of these countries. Okay. We know that China is not part of these countries. So how would we remove China from here? We can simply remove China with the delete, I think. The delete, would it work? Yeah, like say, or for some people who don't know how a certain thing works, Lays, we can do, because we know where China is, where China is here, with that it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can just go and say that Europe countries 4 equals to null, which means nothing. Now, if we echo unimploded Europe countries, and we see if this will bring what I want. If it
You use
doesn't,
East African countries.
here, oh, that was fast. Thank you. Europe countries, and then we can say P, and then we say P here, and save. Then let's see what that does. Oh, so this one has removed the 4th, which is, because we had already, sorry, because we had already replaced Belgium here. So we had put Belgium here. And so this is supposed to be China is at 5th position. So let's do this. And you can see that China has been removed, but you see we have commas here, which means that at this, they mean that at this position we have an empty thing. So for us, we have to be better and entirely remove that thing. And I think there is, I'm not sure, but it's delete. Let's see. I don't know if it's in PHP or JavaScript. I've forgotten. Sometimes I miss the two languages, but let's see. Yeah, undefined delete. Yes. So how can we delete an element from the array? Remember the array shift? The array, what was it? Splice would work, but I know there is something else that is a little bit quicker and faster. Let me just search here. Delete. Oof. Delete array element in PHP. Let me see. Oh, okay. I think I've remembered just by looking at the results from Google. I think the delete is in JavaScript. And unset unsets variables. So do you see that? China has been removed, and we now have Spain, France, and we have valid European countries. Now we can also use a for loop to do that. But yeah, we can use a for loop to do that. And especially if we don't know the position, like here we've specified the position 5, but there are cases when you may not know the position, but you know the value you have. So here I'll put the H2 and say delete China from European countries. So what now, if we can, I'll just comment this out. I'll just comment this out and this out so that the deletion is not affected. Then here I'll start a paragraph, and what I'm gonna do is to say that for each, this time I'm not gonna use the I. Okay, let me, will it really make sense? No, it won't. If I don't use the I, it won't. I'll use this for, and then go with the I. You can put, I stands for index. So you might ask, why do we put I always? So you can just say I, and you give index, and you give it 0. And you say that the index is less than the count or the size of European countries. So this is if the index is less than. Then here you can say index plus plus. So then here we can say if, here we can now say that if European countries at index equals to a string of China. You see that? Then what can we do? We can say that at this moment in time, just unset European countries at the index that we've found that the string is equal to China, that the value is equal to China. Then after doing that, of course, you don't want to continue running. If that this what I'm going to do means that you only have one China, okay? If they tell you that delete the first occurrence, but if you have many Chinas in the array, then you don't use this, you leave it out. But because when you leave it out, this loop will run through the entire array, and whenever it finds a string that refers to China, it will delete it. Now, for us, we are removing the first occurrence, and the moment we find it, we unset, we delete. After deleting, we output the China, we output the array which is imploded, which is joined. We are now outputting it as a string, and we say European. And we say European countries. Then here we can save. And go down here. Save, and yeah, I think that's it. So we can check it out and see if it has deleted the China. So I'll refresh, and guess what? China has been deleted. The same way the unset, this one here, the same way it worked. But this one is safe if you know the index. But when you don't know the index, like if they have given you data from a database, you cannot know where something is positioned. So if they tell you delete the first occurrence of letter B, the first occurrence of letter C, the first occurrence of this from an array, this is something like this is what you're gonna run. You may ask why we've used the for loop, but we can use here the while loop as well, but the syntax will change a bit. We shall start by declaring the index here with outside the whatever. Then we shall say while the index is less than the count, remove that. Then down here we shall have to increment the index. So whenever whenever this condition of Europe, whenever this condition of Europe countries index has not equals China has not been met, we shall continue the while, and it will increment the index and check. So guys, the loops we looked at are quite important, and so necessary. So we would say that, let's check it, and here it is. You know, it's working. Now for this condition here, the do while would be faster. Why would it be faster? It would be faster if China was the first element. If China was here, the do while would be the fastest, because it would do the to run once, find it, delete it, and never do the other running. As you learn programming, you are going to discover something known as space and time complexity, big O notation, where you are checking whether your code is taking a lot of time to execute, whether it's occupying a lot of memory. And these loops that we are using, the while, the for each, you need to know where they are faster. You don't just use them because they work. And the people who just use them, they make a mistake. That's why you see that for me here, I've put a break, because I've told you that we are deleting the first occurrence of China. And the moment we delete it, we don't want the loop to continue running, because if this loop continues running, we shall take forever to reach at this code. And that means if you have a lot of code below here, and in fact, that's where JavaScript beats PHP, that JavaScript has some nature known as asynchronous, that if this code up here is slow, it will not stop the code below to run. That's why you see that interactive systems, for interactive systems, they use JavaScript. Interactive systems like what? Like the chat bots, the chat feature in apps. They use a lot of JavaScript because JavaScript, the code will execute as long as it's faster than the other. But for PHP and Python and Java, the code executes sequentially. The code will not, this code here will never execute until the code before it has executed. So that's an important fundamental to know. The other important fundamental to know, if you are to take away anything from this class, is that there's something called space and time complexity. The big O notation, you can go and study about it. It's something they will usually give you test and they tell us what what uh, what is the space and time complexity of this code. They will tell you to just look at it. Like David, I know you have an idea. What do you think is the space and time complexity of this code? From line number 98 to line number 104.
I think it's big O of n.
Big O of n. Yes, you are very right, because it is what? It is these numbers here, you know, we get to know them once. So the loop runs for as much as the count of these countries. So you are very right. But other people, you need to research. This is something that in all computer science classes, I think it's there, but I believe majority of the students fail it. But once they give it to you in an interview and you fail it, you feel very embarrassed because you want to be like a developer. You won't feel like a developer. So you need to learn these things before you go to interviews, especially interviews where you are applying for an intermediate or senior role. In the junior role, they may not ask you these, but in intermediate, they will ask you. Then also, if you are applying to companies like Turing, TopTal, Talent.io, Andela, my dear, you won't skip these. They will have to ask you. So be smart. I've had a lot of friends who come to me and tell me, David, I was at this company, I performed, I developed scripts, but they never gave me the job. It's because they just don't want to heartbreak you, but they don't know how to explain to you. Because remember, sometimes you meet recruiters who are not developers, but the code you do, behind the scenes, they give it to a developer and they ask him, how is this code? The developer tells them, Munang, if you take that person, you are doomed. Then for them, they won't come to tell you, hey, you are bad, whatever, because they don't know the language to use. Some of them, they will play the political game of making sure that you feel uncomfortable at the place and you quit by yourself. Others will tell you the opportunity is normal. We don't have resources to take care of you, and they will send you away. Others will be open and will tell you that, you know what, we are unable to take you at this moment because because the interviews were highly competitive and we picked someone we felt like was a better fit for this position. So still you might never know whether you failed. And so for me, that's why I am advising and advocating that learn these things. It doesn't kill. Yes, coding is supposed to be simple and casual, but it's not wrong. Everyone now admires to build things like ChatGPT, but not all developers can build it. Why? Because some developers decided to go in the business and not be developers or coders. Now when something that is really competitive comes into the game, they feel they want to develop it, but they're unable because they skipped things. That's the same thing that Faith was sharing last time about learning the unity testing, functional testing, or the entire TDD. It would be a very strong thing. On my tweet, I've shared code errors. Today, I've shared code errors that you will encounter, but you don't have to be afraid of them. And I'm surprised people from India saying, hey, this list is good. Can you expound it and make it bigger and give us code examples? So you see that, but still it's from people from India. You don't see people from Uganda. The people I will see from Africa, most likely to be Nigerians, yeah, or Kenyan, or South African. But it's gonna be tough and hard for someone from Uganda to come and say that. And I'm not saying that I'm accusing us, but I'm saying we need to up our game. All right, guys, thank you for attending today's lesson. If you want to say something, please say it before we go. I'm stopping the screen sharing. I'm going to add the code to the gist. Let me add it while you are seeing, so that next time if I tell you to do so, you don't say that I failed. So this is how I do it. I remember last time I also showed you, I must have shown you, but probably you didn't. So to add the gist, you go to GitHub, log in, go close to your profile icon, and then click new gist. The gist is because you are just adding a simple file, you know. So arrays, master arrays 2.php, and I'll paste the code here in this space over here. And after pasting it, I can add a description if I want, but I don't know the description. So, and if I want to add another file, I can add another file, but there's no other file I'm going to add. So because I want all of you to access this, I'll click public, and I'll select public from the top down, click create public, and then this is the code. So after that, I will just copy the code from here, the link, and give it to you. So like I'm going to take it in the WhatsApp group, and we are good to go. So where is the WhatsApp group? It's here. There you go. So if you click it, you will see the code we've used in today's session. Thank you, members, for attending today's session. Anything you want to say? Okay, so nothing. So guys, the session has ended. Thank you for attending. I wish you a very good night. Bye-bye.